Good morning, Craig. Can you hear us?
Yep, I sure can.
Great, thank you. Right, I'll start with the Karakia today. Whakatakata hou ki te uru, whakatakata hou ki te tonga, ki mā kina kina ki uta, ki mā tara tara ki tai. Ihi aki ana te atakura, he tiu, hei huka, hei hohu, ti hei, Māori ora. Right, we have a quorum present, so I will declare today's meeting of the Regulation Hearing Committee open. Right, I have received an email from Councillor Robinson that she may be online when she can attend, so I'm not sure whether she's going to come. Well, yeah, okay. Thank you very much. We've got Chair Paulings online. He's making his way in. So, is there any conflicts of interest with today's agenda items? If there isn't, we'll move on to agenda item 4. That's the public forum, deputations and petitions. We have received no requests for public forum, deputations or petitions. That's correct? Yep. Is there any extraordinary and urgent business that anybody wishes to raise? If there isn't, we will then move on to agenda item 6. That is the notices of motion. Are there any notice of motion? I've been advised of none, so there isn't any. Takes us to agenda item 7. That's the minutes. The unconfirmed minutes there are on your agenda page 9 to 15. Are there any matters of accuracy for those minutes for the 12th of March? Councillor Edge.
Just before we deal with that, I'd just like to thank Council for circulating the links to notifications. It was an easy read and it's very informative, and thank you very much for that. It makes life a lot easier for me anyway. Thank you. But yeah, I have no issues. I'll move.
Okay, if there aren't any matters, we have Councillor Edge has moved that confirm the minutes from the Regulation Hearing Committee held on the 12th of March. Do we have a seconder for them? Councillor East, thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, so they're carried. Thank you. That takes us on to our report items today. It's page 16. They start of your papers. 8.1, we're looking at appointment of a hearing commissioner for an applicant G&G Coates Limited. Staff have provided the information around that. That's a legacy consent, so nice to see we're still getting some of them come through. The notification information has been provided by staff, and the recommendation is there that Reg Profit be appointed as the hearing commissioner and delegated the responsibilities. Now we have at the table Philip Burge. We don't see Philip in here very often. Our principal consents advisor, and also Alison is sitting there alongside, and we've got other staff in the room too. So are there any questions of clarification with regard to that agenda item 8.1 from members? If there isn't any questions, I will put the motion that we've got up here on the board. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor East is going to move it. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Edge is going to second that. Yeah, Grant, can you just turn your microphone off?
It won't go off, Chair. Somebody could maybe just.
I've done it.
Rightio, thank you. So we've got a mover and a seconder. There's probably not any discussion to be had around that one. So if there isn't, I will then put that. All those in favour say aye. Against. So that is carried. Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 2. This is around an appointment of a hearing commissioner for Fletcher Concrete and Infrastructure Limited. Now, this is a joint consent hearing with Selwyn as a TA, and obviously you'll see there's a suite of consents that have been applied for. I think there was 3 submitters on our side and 5 on Selwyn from memory. So staff have provided an awful lot of information here and background for you. Are there any points of clarity that members would like to ask of staff? There isn't. This is great information being provided and satisfying everybody. Thank you. If there isn't any questions, as indicated, could I have a mover and a seconder for this motion that's here on the board? Councillor Edge, and a seconder. Councillor East, thank you. Is there any discussion? If there isn't, all those in favour say aye.
I will abstain.
Okay, those against, there's no, and we've got 1 abstention. Okay. So this takes us to agenda item 8.3. Okay, sorry, the motion was carried. Takes us to 8.3. This is the appointment of a hearing commissioner for Claremont Farms Limited. We're looking at appointing a hearing commissioner to hear and decide 1 consent here. I guess this is a legacy consent too, being a 2022, so going through the process. Limited notified, and we have actually got a hearing is required because the submitter wants to be heard on this one. Staff have provided, once again, quite a bit of background information there, and information certainly on Reg Profit, who we've actually had that information earlier on. Councillor East, do you have a question?
You just, I didn't declare any interest in it, but then sort of reading it further, Claremont Farms, is there any indication of who is behind Claremont Farms?
For the benefit of you round your conflict, is that the question you're asking for?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
I just have some nagging thought.
Okay. Do we have a name that may be able to just help inform Councillor East?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information at hand.
Sorry? James Gordon, does that... Andy Hancock. I don't know where that information's come from, but I've been provided that from a council member. Can we just take a minute, adjourn for a second while we get some advice, please? Okay, thank you. Right, we're back. I've just got to ask you again now that we're on live stream. So, Councillor East, are you happy that you're not conflicted?
Yes, I'm happy. I'm not conflicted.
Okay, thank you very much for seeking that clarification. So we have recommendations here. I just have one question. Normally, staff don't provide us with who the notifications have actually been sent to, who are the affected people. And in this situation, we've certainly, and I know that they do go to Runanga quite often, but in this situation, it's also gone to Tront or to Runanga o Ngātahu. Is there a reason why that may have been? Is it because it's a significant a statutory acknowledgement area, or?
Yes, that would be
Okay.
normal process.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Because we don't see too many of these, and I just wondered if that was the trigger. So thank you for that information. So if nobody else has got any questions? Oh, you're right, Joe? Okay. We've got a mover for this motion, Councillor Davies. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Swiggs. Any discussion?
I'd like to abstain.
Okay. We're going to have an abstention there. All those in favour say aye.
I can't.
Against?
Either.
You might have to turn them off. All right, thank you. So you went against, were you? No, you're right? Okay, right. So we've got an abstention from Councillor Edge. So that motion is carried. Thank you. Right, that takes us on to, good morning, Chair, to 8.4. This is a appointment of a hearing commission for a consent for D&D and DM Galletly. Once again, this is a legacy consent coming through the process, and it was publicly notified. All the information I hope that you require is in the paper. So we have a recommendation here to appoint David Caldwell as the hearing commissioner and delegate to him the responsibilities under the RMA to deal with preliminary matters here and decide the application. Staff have provided his background. He's probably only become available because of one other being delayed at the moment, I suspect. Does anybody have any questions of clarity around this paper? Okay, thank you. So we haven't got any questions of clarity, and we're going to change the numbers on this. They'll be updated to 1.1 and 1.2 when they come through. So have we a mover and a seconder for this recommendation? Councillor East is going to move it. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Chair Pauling. Is there any discussion? Not needed. Okay. All those members in agreement say aye. In favour say aye. Against? So that is carried. Thank you. Speeding right along. You may say sitting there. I see Paul's going to come and answer any questions according to my paper. We move on to agenda item 9.1. Here is regarding the resolution status report. I think that's pretty straightforward. They're all green. Does anybody have any questions of clarity that they wish to make or have staff respond to? If there isn't, we will then, I will ask for somebody to put this motion. We have somebody to do that. Councillor Edge and Chair Pauling. I'm just going to second that. I don't think there's probably any need for discussion there. All those in favour say aye. Against? So that's carried. which then takes us on to agenda item 9.2, which is around the resource consent hearing status report, 19th of March. We have a recommendation there. The paper has been updated from our meeting last week. So does anybody have any questions or clarification? Councillor Swiggs.
Yeah, I was just going to say thanks for the updates on there. It's quite useful to see where things are at. One question I wanted to ask was, are we about right? And the list is starting to get reasonably longish. Is that a normal amount that we kind of have in the pipeline, or are we starting to get a few more than we normally would?
It's probably a little longer than we would normally have. That's largely due to moving through the legacy work as they're all catching up, and then we have to start moving them all along. We wouldn't normally have this many notifications on the go.
And it leads me to the next question. Have we got enough capacity in the hearing commissioners to do the work that we need to do in the time that we require to do right now? And then also, in light of last week's committee meeting, have we got enough capacity in the system for the hearing commissioners to do the work that potentially is coming, or is there work being done to make sure we have that capacity?
It depends a bit on what's happening out in the rest of the country as well, because I know that there are a few that have been caught up with district plan hearings that hopefully will be finishing sort of in the next couple of months. So as we start to move through, they will become available. And as hearings tend to be a wee bit fluid sometimes, and if applicants suspend, it can push things out. And so they then become available. So yes, well, there technically are. It's just getting the experienced people that can run a hearing and feel comfortable at running a hearing and providing a written decision.
Can I ask one more question just on that?
You may.
It really is important. We've got the word experienced hearing commissioner is really gets my ears up with the amount of work that's coming potentially. If we don't allow, we've got a lot of people who may not have experience. Is there anything that we're doing behind the scenes, especially in the work that we're doing here, to help people get experience? Because if they don't have the chance, they don't get experience.
I'm not aware that there's anything that Environment Canterbury specifically is doing. I know that the Ministry of the Environment in the past has sort of done almost a shadow commissioner program where they would appoint, where a panel would be appointed and that the ministry would support someone to sort of sit alongside the panel to gain experience. I'm not sure if that's currently running. It is always one of those. We're cost recoverable. We've got to be fair and reasonable to the applicants. So putting on extra commissioners simply so they can learn is kind of one of those problematic things of where do you pay for that. So in my experience, it's quite difficult to build that experience except when you have panels and then you're looking for a particular skill set, and it is a difficulty that is across the board for the whole country.
I think thanks for that. There's some work that I'm quite interested to follow up on that. So thanks for the answer. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think if we can just turn that one off. Can we turn Dion off?
Yeah, can't turn off.
It's all right. Can we turn them off? Okay. I think just one of the opportunities that we will have too is when we sit shortly and look at the list of our commissioners that we can put on, give work to during the year. I think it was 12 or 15 people we had last year. It was quite a big list that perhaps we can look at bringing some new ones in there as well. So that's just an opportunity that we may use. Councillor East.
Just carrying on from the valid points that Councillor Swiggs raised, 9 times out of 10 when we are performing this function, we are just appointing a commissioner. And I sort of take Councillor Swig's point that there are a number of people out there that have done the good decisions course, and somehow or other they need that experience to step further up the ladder. So I suppose my question is really, why are we continually just appointing a commissioner when we could have the opportunity on occasion to appoint a panel, which would then give other up-and-coming potential commissioners that experience to step further up the ladder? I just feel at times, we're not enhancing the opportunity to give some of these people the opportunity to go further.
You may answer that again. I think part of it's around in our hearings policy and being reasonable to the applicants and things like that. But Phil, you might like just to enlarge again for that,
Yes.
around that.
Kia ora. Yes, that's exactly right. Because our charges have to be fair and reasonable, appointing additional commissioners onto a panel when they're not required basically ends up being borne by the ratepayer, because we won't be able to justify those costs at a cost objection. So it's that balance of ensuring we have the right skill set, which is where you generally go for a panel, because there will be a variety of issues in play, as opposed to a sole commissioner when the issues are reasonably confined. Then you tend to put on an experienced commissioner. So putting on, while it would be, I agree, it would be beneficial to be able to bring people through and build that experience and build the commissioner base, that has to be balanced against fairness to the applicant who is paying ultimately for the entire hearing process.
Okay, we've sort of got off a little bit off the topic, which is the status resource consent application, but I just hope staff can take on board the concerns that members are raising here around this. Councillor Edge, do you have one regarding to the actual agenda item here?
Well, they're kind of interlinked, really. The question from Councillor Swiggs was the building list, because these things can't be processed. So it's a catch-22 for us. If we're delaying, it costs us money. If we don't actually get these off the books quicker, it's costing us money anyway. I would be interested to follow up a discussion on what are the creative ways that we can introduce new people, still being fair to an applicant, but what is the relationship with the Ministry for the Environment in terms of any subsidies to consultants? Are consultants willing to do this as a on lower rates, those sorts of things? So I just think we just need to maybe explore those, and it would be good if the staff could maybe come back with some suggestions of that, Chair. Thanks.
I can also probably do a bit of legwork on that, but yeah, I think that we've probably got a little bit off topic. So we do have a recommendation here. If I can just bring ourselves back to the agenda item and the recommendation, that we notice the status of the resource consent applications hearings provided in this resource consent status report. Have I got a mover for that? Councillor Swiggs. Do I have a seconder? Councillor East. Any further discussion? If there isn't any further discussion, I will move that. All those in favour say aye. Any nays? No nays. No abstentions. Motion is carried. Right. The next regulation hearing committee meeting will be held on the 26th of March, so that's next week. We will hold the Karakia open after the close of business today. So I now declare the meeting closed and thank staff for their attendance this morning. Thank you.